Hello, my name is Hannah Oden and I am a senior planner for the town of Oro Valley. Thank you for tuning in to the second step and video in this extended public outreach process. This process has been kicked off in response to a property owner's application for a general plan amendment and rezoning on a site near you, a vacant parcel near the southeast corner of the North First Avenue and Tangerine Road intersection. I hope everyone has had a chance to view the first informational video posted on ovprojects.com on April 10th. A link to the April 10th video can be found in the YouTube description for this video. If you haven't, I would invite you to watch that first. Today, April 30th, we will be building on information provided in the first video. As promised in the first video, the questions and comments received at ask@orovalleyaz.gov by April 23rd serve as the foundation for this video. If the number of views and thoughtful questions and comments provided to date are a good indicator, it appears the first video has been helpful. The April 10th informational video has been viewed approximately 400 times and has generated a number of questions and comments so far. It appears the use of video has been a good vehicle to get information out and garner responses. These videos are not a replacement for in-person neighborhood meetings. Our goal is to continue hosting multiple opportunities to participate, including in-person neighborhood meetings in August and September if it is safe to do so. We are here in the process. Currently, we have completed the first informational video and have received the first round of your comments and questions. Today, we are addressing those questions and comments in this second informational video. On May 21st, we will host an online interactive Zoom meeting to receive additional questions and comments about the project, and I will provide more information about that later in the video. Additional neighborhood meetings will be held in August and September, and again will be in person if it is safe to do so. Public hearings for the Planning and Zoning Commission and Town Council will be held in October through December. So here are the steps that we're going to follow. First, I will provide a very brief background summary, including an overview of the property owner's proposal. This is covered more extensively in the April 10th video posted on ovprojects.com by the applicant represented by Mr. Paul Oland. As a reminder, this is not the town's proposal, and it is the applicant's charge to justify amendments to the Your Voice, Our Future general plan and zoning. Secondly, as promised in the first video posted on April 10th at ovprojects.com, the questions and comments the town received through April 23rd serve as the foundation for responses by the applicant and staff in this video. We received a number of questions and comments and identified the most frequently asked. I will guide us through each with a response from the applicant and other key town staff members as appropriate. Written responses to frequently asked questions will be posted on ovprojects.com. Lastly, we will review next steps and invite you to continue to provide your questions and comments on ask@orovalleyaz.gov. I'd like to orient everyone with respect to the subject property. The property is outlined in yellow and is approximately 13.5 acres and is located south of Tangerine Road and east of North First Avenue. The Safeway located off Rancho Vistosa Boulevard is located just to the north across Tangerine Road, and the Catalina Shadows neighborhood is located to the east. The Villages at Silverhawk residential subdivision is located to the south, and farther south is Palisades Road and the Palisades Split neighborhood. To the west, across First Avenue, is the Tangerine Hills neighborhood. The parcel is within an area known as Kai Capri. The ultimate request by the applicant is to enable development of apartments, townhomes, or a senior care facility. To accomplish this, they need to submit two separate applications. The first is a general plan text amendment to amend special area policies. This general plan amendment involves a request to change the text of the general plan to amend Kai Capri special area policies that limits the use on the subject property to commercial and caps the number of permitted residential units in the Kai Capri area to 255. Currently, there are 227 residential units in the adjacent Silverhawk subdivisions. The second is to rezone the property from C1 commercial to R6 multifamily residential. This rezoning request is to change the existing commercial zoning designation of the property to multifamily residential zoning to accommodate the proposed changes. Please see the April 10th informational video posted on ovprojects.com for more information. These two applications are expected to run concurrently. To date, we have not received a formal application. However, a pre-application concept has been provided and posted on ovprojects.com. The deadline for a formal general plan amendment application is today, April 30th, and will be posted on ovprojects.com as soon as possible. A rezoning application, which will include a site analysis, traffic study, and proposed tentative development plan, is anticipated in early June. And now, on to your questions. As promised in the first video, the questions and comments the town received by April 23rd serve as the foundation for this one. To date, we have received a number of questions and comments that covered a range of topics, and we have posted all of them on ovprojects.com and then did our best to group each one into logical categories with a topically focused and hybrid question. To clarify, each question and comment received will not be included verbatim in this presentation, but all topics have been consolidated into categories. Those categories include land use compatibility, open space in the environment, schools, infrastructure, process, amending the general plan, traffic, and water, and these are reflected in the following consolidated categories and hybrid questions that are representative of what was most frequently asked. We will now proceed through each one. The applicant will address all project-specific questions, and it is the applicant's charge to justify the proposed general plan and rezoning amendments and address all compatibility and infrastructure issues. Oro Valley staff will focus on technical information regarding traffic and water supply. The first several questions will be addressed by the property owner's representative, Mr. Paul Oland. I will read each question and Mr. Oland will follow with the response. The first question is related to land use compatibility and is, what can currently be built on this site?
Thank you, Ms. Oden. I'm Paul Oland with Paradigm Land Design, representing the property owner in these applications. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today to answer some of the questions and comments that we've received from our neighbors. The site is currently zoned for commercial development, meaning that uses permitted today include the sorts of establishments that you'd find in a shopping center, such as retail stores, restaurants, bars, daycare, auto parts and rental, and miscellaneous services. This is the existing approved tentative development plan for the property, showing these sorts of uses.
Why propose new uses and not build commercial uses? What is the occupancy and demand for Oro Valley apartments and senior care facilities? What is the economic impact?
The reason we're requesting to change the zoning is that Oro Valley doesn't have enough residential or employment density needed for its existing businesses to thrive, never mind potential future businesses. The struggling and closing of numerous stores at the Oro Valley Marketplace, the Old Bashes Shopping Center, Rooney Ranch, and other commercial centers in Oro Valley is evidence of this problem. At the intersection of First and Tangerine alone, where this property is located, there are over 80 acres of commercially zoned land, but less than a third of that land is developed, and those developments are considered marginal from a retail standpoint because of the lack of supporting density. Most of the undeveloped acreage has been zoned for commercial development for decades, but has not been built because there simply aren't enough residents nearby to support them. Throughout Oro Valley, there isn't much undeveloped residential land left, so the likelihood of ever having enough density to support all the undeveloped commercial acreage is very low. Furthermore, of the undeveloped commercial land at the intersection of First and Tangerine, this property is the weakest because it is the furthest from the intersection and has the most circuitous access. In response to the facts, we're proposing to downzone this property to permit development of a residential or senior care use that will be more viable and which will provide a graduated transition in land use intensity. Roughly 10,000 Americans turn 65 each day. This trend will continue for many years, and this is why we've all seen a surge in the number of senior care facilities built since the Great Recession. In nice towns like Oro Valley that have relatively high residential land values, senior care campuses offer resort-style living with many amenities. The aging parents of many local residents already live in senior care campuses like this in Oro Valley, allowing the generations to live close to each other while ensuring that the increased care needs of the elderly are met in an active and comfortable environment. These campuses are quiet neighbors that don't adversely impact nearby homeowners. Demand for more residential units in Oro Valley remains regionally strong because Oro Valley is a great place to live. However, Oro Valley's residential market is dominated by single-family detached homes. That doesn't align with the broader spectrum of housing options demanded by existing and future residents, nor does it achieve one of the general plan's goals of Oro Valley having an adequate supply of a full spectrum of housing options. For example, among the dozen or so apartment complexes in Oro Valley, occupancy rates average right around 95% and rents continue to increase. An apartment development such as this would help fill some of the demand. Over the last few years, every time apartments have been developed in Oro Valley, new restaurants and retailers have sprung up nearby. Additional residences, such as rental casitas, would also fill some of the demand and would support local businesses, as would townhomes. More single-family homes wouldn't necessarily help fill gaps in Oro Valley's available housing unit types, but they would still help local businesses tremendously. And that really gets at the point of this application. An unused infill site like this one will benefit everyone if it is allowed to develop in a manner that is responsive to long-standing market conditions, while at the same time developing with sensitivity to the surrounding area. Residential and senior care are appropriate transitional uses that will bring new patrons and employees to local businesses and new residents to Oro Valley.
Is this compatible with surrounding neighbors? What about view, noise, and light pollution impacts?
The property is visible from the intersection of 1st and Tangerine, although it is not highly visible because it is 1,000 feet away. Plus, it's at a slightly lower elevation, so development won't impact views of Push Ridge from these roadways. Directly north of the property is a ridge, shown in orange, that blocks visibility from much of Tangerine Road. The site's marginal visibility from nearby major roads only underscores the point that commercial use of the site is not very viable. The nearest residents in the Catalina Shadows subdivision are over 800 feet away and will be separated from this development not only by distance, but also by homes to be built within the villages at Silverhawk Phase 3. And of course, the premium views from Cat Shadows are in the opposite direction, toward Push Ridge. The nearest neighbors in the villages at Silverhawk Phase 2 subdivision, which was part of the rezoning that created this property's C1 zoning in the first place, are at least 350 feet away and separated from this development by a wash and the village's Phase 3 that is currently under development. Again, their primary view shed is to the east, not across this property. The nearest neighbors in the Tangerine Hills subdivision are nearly 1,100 feet away and are separated from this development by a wash, the village's Phases 2 and 3 subdivisions, and First Avenue. The nearest homes in Rancho Vistoso are over a third of a mile away. The property's existing commercial zoning allows buildings of up to 25 feet. The proposed R6 zoning has the same restriction. Nobody's views will be impacted by the development of this property either under its existing zoning or under any of the proposed development scenarios. Oro Valley is a pretty quiet and peaceful place to live and work. Given this property's existing commercial zoning that currently permits development of a shopping center with delivery trucks and other typical shopping center activities, any residential or senior care neighborhood built here will certainly produce less noise, although neither is particularly noisy. Of course, Oro Valley's noise ordinance would apply to both scenarios. Dark sky ordinances limit light pollution regardless of land use, but it's safe to say that any residential or senior care neighborhood built on this property would generally produce less light than a shopping center as currently permitted.
How much open space will be provided? What are the cultural and environmental impacts, specifically in regards to native plants and animals?
We've given roughly 2/3 of the overall Kai Capri property north and south of Palisades Road as open space. That includes areas within the sanctuary at Silverhawk neighborhood south of Palisades, the villages at Silverhawk neighborhood north of Palisades, and these commercial areas at First and Tangerine. That's a lot of open space, especially for infill land. This property's existing C1 commercial zoning requires 20% open space. The proposed R6 zoning requires 35% open space. So clearly, there will be more open space under the proposed development scenario than under the existing entitlements. Never mind the many, many acres of open space that we've already dedicated. This aerial photo shows how nearly the entire site was graded by ADOT a number of years ago, so this land does not boast the level of mature or significant native vegetation found on most other vacant parcels in Oro Valley. Multiple cultural resource surveys were completed by archaeological firms approved by the town. No cultural resources sites were identified on this particular property. Within the overall Kai Capri property, a cultural resources site was identified and it was protected and preserved in place.
Will future owners be taxed for schools, and is there ample student capacity?
Residential units within this project will be assessed property taxes like every other unit in Pima County. Some of those taxes fund public education. Kids living within this neighborhood would most likely attend Painted Sky Elementary, Coronado K-8, Ironwood Ridge High School, and Basis Oro Valley. We believe all these schools have the capacity to accept additional students, but we'll be confirming that with Amphi School District and Basis as we move through the rezoning process. I should also note that folks living in apartments in Oro Valley tend to be a little older, often being empty nesters, so the resulting impact on schools is typically lower. And senior care would obviously have no impact on schools at all.
How will infrastructure be impacted and who pays for it? Will walking paths and trails be included?
This property gains vehicular, pedestrian, and utility access via existing and planned infrastructure that was designed to accommodate this property being developed for non-residential use. In other words, existing and planned infrastructure has adequate capacity to serve this development. The last leg of Kai Drive, which will complete the loop from First Avenue to Tangerine Road, will be constructed by the developer with the development of this parcel. Any ancillary improvements to Tangerine Road, such as turn lanes, will also be constructed by the developer. The cost of additional infrastructure necessary to serve this property, and that's roads, water, sewer, etc., will be borne by the developer. We previously granted a trail easement through the eastern portion of the Villages at Silverhawk property, here, extending up from Palisades Road to the cell tower and then around and down to Big Wash along this alignment. A connection to the existing trail down to Big Wash will be provided to future residents of this development, as will connections to Kai Drive. In addition, in response to this question, we'll be reaching out to Pima County Parks and Rec to determine the feasibility of acquiring a trail easement connecting that existing trail over to Kai Drive, which will have a sidewalk along it all the way back to First Avenue. This way, trail users will gain another connection to Oro Valley's system of sidewalks and multi-use paths, as well as surrounding commercial areas.
The next question relates to process. The question is, why is the process not being paused until after the COVID-19 pandemic is over? It is important to establish that this request is to develop private property, and all property owners have the right to request review of their development proposal. This is not the town's proposal, it is the property owners. It is their charge to create, justify, and seek town council approval of their proposal. In accordance with state law, the town is required to provide due process in a timely manner. State law requires general plan amendments to be heard in the same calendar year in which they are submitted. This means that town council must consider the application in December of this year. Again, state law mandates that general plan amendments be processed if and when they are submitted. This includes moving forward with the public participation process. The next question relates to amending the general plan and is, how is the general plan able to be changed? The Your Voice, Our Future general plan is a voter-approved policy document that drives town decisions and reflects community values. It includes a vision, guiding principles, and goals and policies that guide town decisions and development. The plan was ratified by the voters in 2016. Property owners have the right to request a land use change to their private property, known as a general plan amendment. The general plan intentionally acknowledged that amendments would be made throughout the life of the plan and specifically states that the amendment process be used because of its robust public engagement process, as shown on this slide. This was specifically recommended by the Development Committee during the creation of the Your Voice, Our Future general plan. With that in mind, the plan includes amendment criteria for evaluating amendment proposals, which include general plan conformance with the vision, guiding principles, goals and policies of the general plan, a thorough review of how neighbor concerns have been addressed by the applicant as part of their proposal, and for non-residential amendments, an evaluation of whether or not it contributes to the long-term stability of the town. The next question is about increased traffic and traffic safety and will be addressed by Mr. Paul Kiesler, the Director of Public Works and the Town Engineer. The question is, would new traffic impact congestion and vehicular and pedestrian safety? What is in a traffic study? Mr. Kiesler.
What does the town require and analyze in regards to a traffic study? Essentially, we look at 5 major aspects of vehicular traffic. First, total traffic generation. This is the total of the existing traffic, often referred to as background traffic, and the amount of traffic that will be added to the surrounding street network with the proposed development. By itself, this is meaningless. but in combination with the next three aspects, it creates an understanding of the real impact that the surrounding street network will experience. Secondly, traffic distribution. Once we understand how much traffic will be generated, it is distributed all the various ingress-egress points to the surrounding street network. This distribution is based on the ratio of existing background traffic flow volume ratios and the ease of access from the internal project locations. So we mimic both driver behavior to find the most efficient route as well as the historical background traffic patterns. Third, with both the total traffic generation as well as the traffic distribution determined, we apply the ITE, that's the Institute of Transportation Engineers, peak hour volume calculations to understand the development's impact to the surrounding street system during the busiest time. Fourth, with all the previous mentioned information and analysis, we can determine the surrounding impacted intersections' level of service. Technically, level of service is directly related to the amount of time one waits at an intersection before they can pass through. Rated on a scale of A through F, the longer one waits at an intersection, the greater the chance an unsafe decision to go will be made, which is statistically related to intersection crash incidents. The town requires that new development mitigates its impacts to surrounding intersections and be responsible for whatever improvements are required, returning the intersection to its existing level of service. The intersections that will be studied within this development are First Avenue and Kai Drive and Placita del Oro South Driveway, that's the Walgreens and Ace Hardware, First and Tangerine, First and Strada Patiana, First and Palisades. Fifth and lastly, we look at proposed new intersection impacts. The developer is proposing a new intersection accessing Tangerine Road. This access is expected to provide beneficial impacts to the previously mentioned existing intersections by relieving them of some traffic volume. However, before this is an accepted alternative, it also needs to be analyzed for the following: accepted level of service of all proposed traffic movements. This includes proposed right in, right out, and slip left in. An acceptable level of service will be B or above for a new intersection. Then, we need to determine that there is adequate sight distance provided for all the new turning movements. For this intersection, that means that the eastbound Tangerine through traffic can see and be seen far enough away that either the through traffic or the turning traffic can safely stop or avoid one another. This is often referred to as a sight visibility study. It analyzes both vertical as well as horizontal sight lines for distance traffic can see one another, or implementing other mitigation methods such as dedicated right turn lane. The next major question has been, what will the traffic impacts be for the proposed development? This has already been studied and analyzed with the previous general plan amendment and rezoning efforts. This is available within the previous traffic impact analysis. However, this previous analysis is based on a major factor that created larger impacts to the existing surrounding traffic network than the present proposal. Commercial land uses generate more traffic than either high-density residential, that would be apartments or casitas, or senior care facilities. Commercial land use, which is what is currently entitled, is the most intense form of traffic generation over all other uses. So if the new development proposal is expected to generate less traffic impacts, then why would the town force the developer to reanalyze the traffic impacts? Simply put, the original land uses had traffic mitigation measures as conditions of approval. The condition of approval is, when the commercial area is developed, appropriate traffic mitigation measures shall be implemented so that the project drive located at the Oro Valley Retail Center intersection operates at an acceptable level of service with the addition of the commercial traffic. For the original traffic impact analysis, this mitigation measure was expected to be the installation of a fully signalized intersection. The town needs to determine if these requirements are still applicable, or are there less impactful mitigation measures that can be implemented to provide the same safety to the general traveling public. Of note, one question from the public specifically asks how the new entrance to Safeway works with the proposed Kai Drive connection to Tangerine Road. There is no impact. As proposed, the Kai Drive connection to Tangerine Road is limited to right in, right out, and slip left in. Because there is a median in Tangerine Road and the new Safeway access is right in and right out, there is no crossing or conflicting traffic movements. In layman's terms, the intersections are completely separated from one another. As previously mentioned, we will nonetheless need to study the proposed CHI connection for site visibility safety. And lastly, how will pedestrian safety be addressed? This proposal nor the previous rezoning negatively impact pedestrian safety. All intersections where pedestrians cross the traffic are either controlled via signal or stop sign. Other than the intersection crossing points, pedestrian travel routes are provided by either sidewalks or multi-use paths, separating them completely from vehicular travel ways. And in a way, this new development proposal will enhance the pedestrian experience by providing an alternative route to going through the busy intersection of First and Tangerine when heading towards the hospital or the Oro Valley Marketplace from First Avenue. The pedestrian way through the connection of Kai Drive from First Avenue to Tangerine will be less congested, quieter, and nicer travel way to and from the aforementioned destinations. There was also a concern for pedestrians crossing Rancho Vistoso Boulevard at Woodburn Avenue due to increased traffic by this development proposal. Aside from the fact that the new proposal reduces newly generated traffic over what was already entitled, the intersection has been vastly improved by the construction of the Safeway Plaza driveway to Tangerine due to the diversion of traffic volume it now provides.
The last question is about water supply and will be addressed by Mr. Peter Abraham, the Oro Valley Water Utility Director. The question is, what is the impact on water supply? Mr. Abraham.
Thank you, Mrs. Oden. To fully understand the water question, we have to go back 24 years. The Oro Valley Water Utility was created in May of 1996 when the town purchased the Cañada Hills Water Company and the Rancho Vistoso Water Company. At that time, the only source of water available for delivery was groundwater, and the demands placed on Oro Valley's aquifer was an unsustainable 2.1 billion gallons per year. Thanks to the utility's forward thinking and the support of the town's governing body, the utility was authorized to make the capital investments necessary, as well as enter into the various contracts and agreements that allow for the delivery of other sources of supply besides groundwater. In 2005, the water utility began making deliveries of reclaimed water to turf customers to irrigate golf courses, parks, and athletic fields. Then, in 2012, the utility began making deliveries of a portion of the utility's Central Arizona Project, CAP, water entitlement. Additionally, the water utility has been storing all of its unused CAP water allocation in nearby underground recharge facilities. This effort to utilize water resources other than groundwater has been so successful that since 1996, the utility has reduced its groundwater pumping by over 30%. This is even more impressive when you consider that the population has more than doubled since that time. This trend will continue. We have the capacity to meet the water resource needs of the community to town build out while still storing water in underground storage facilities for the future. How will we do this? With the completion of the Northwest Recharge Recovery and Delivery System project in 2024, the utility will begin making additional CAP deliveries. You may ask, how reliable is CAP water as a source of supply? The water utility has an entitlement of CAP water and a contract with CAP to deliver it. As a municipal water provider, the utility is among the highest priority users of CAP water. If curtailments in deliveries were to ever happen, Oro Valley would be among the last to see reductions of deliveries. The Oro Valley Water Utility developed a strategic plan for water supply sustainability to comply with regulatory requirements of the Arizona Department of Water Resources, ADWR. This plan includes a comprehensive water supply and demand analysis for Oro Valley and creates a framework for addressing the town's future water supply needs. The town demonstrated to ADWR that it had a 100-year water supply when considering current and committed demands, as well as future growth projections. As a result, the town of Oro Valley has been designated by ADWR as having an assured and adequate water supply for the water utility's entire service area for a period of 100 years. The town's diligence in securing, managing, and conserving its water resources have been so successful that the water utility delivers less total water resources per year than it did over a decade ago. This leaves enough resource availability to support the town's future growth, even if the current CAP drought contingency plans go into effect. Whatever the region's water supply challenges may be, the town of Oro Valley is well positioned to successfully meet those challenges to ensure and sustain the town's quality of life, public health, and economic vitality now and in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Oland and town staff for your responses. As a reminder, these were the most common questions that were received through April 23rd. All questions and comments have been posted on this project's webpage on ovprojects.com, in addition to written answers to frequently asked questions. For accurate and timely information, please keep checking into ovprojects.com and using ask@orovalleyaz.gov throughout the process. I hope everyone found the responses helpful and informative. As a reminder, this process is just getting started. Oro Valley is one of the few jurisdictions that invite the community into this type of process before a formal application is even received. The next meeting will be a web-based, fully interactive Zoom meeting on May 21st, which I will cover more in the following slide. Use of videos has been a good vehicle to get information out to a lot of folks, including those who normally would not attend an in-person neighborhood meeting. They are, however, not a replacement for in-person neighborhood meetings. We anticipate conducting those in August and September of this year, if it is safe to do so. Otherwise, additional web-based, fully interactive Zoom meetings will be offered. Again, the next meeting will be a web-based, fully interactive Zoom meeting on May 21st at 6 p.m. There are multiple ways to participate in this Zoom meeting, and I've included some pertinent information on how to use the Zoom software on this slide, regardless of whether you need to participate via computer, mobile app, or call in by phone. The meeting ID, which is 986-3253-1728, is shown on this slide, as well as a link to a user guide. All information regarding how to use the Zoom software and participate is at ovprojects.com. I would like to conclude by thanking everyone for the high level of engagement and number of questions and comments received. Please continue to make your voice heard over the course of this process. The town invites all of you to keep sharing your questions and comments on ask@orovalleyaz.gov. All questions and comments will continue to be posted on this project's webpage at ovprojects.com. Again, this is just the second step, and we are only using video to do this because of the COVID-19 pandemic and social distancing guidelines. Additional information has been posted on ovprojects.com, and it will be continually updated as the town receives a formal application and additional information. We will continue to notify property owners who received a yellow postcard and post the property with yellow signs for upcoming events. If you wish to receive a postcard and did not for this video, please reach out via ask@orovalleyaz.gov and provide your name and address, and we will ensure that you are notified next time. Again, the next opportunity for input is at the interactive Zoom meeting on May 21st at 6 p.m. Please go to www.ovprojects.com as shown on the screen for detailed information on how to participate in this meeting. Thank you for your care and consideration, especially in these challenging times. It is important to hear your comments and questions early and often. The extent of community participation is what makes Oro Valley a special place. Community input has shaped every general plan amendment and rezoning application in Oro Valley, just as it will on this project. We hope to see you at the interactive Zoom web-based meeting on May 21st. Thank you for your time.